comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned.
The time is 10. And a good morning. Thank you for tuning into the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Dory. I'm here with Sarah, and we invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and noon each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. And we'll start things off with an article from the Springfield News Leader. A $471 million I-44 improvements move into construction phase. The Missouri Department of Transportation will mark the start of a construction on the Southwest I-44 Improvements Project with a groundbreaking ceremony in Springfield on August 24th, a major investment in the Forward 44 program along the interstate corridor. The event is scheduled for 10 a.m. near the I-44 and Mulroy Road, Missouri 744 interchange. That's exit 84, according to a community announcement. The project spans portions of the corridor from Newton County to Laclede County and includes improvements at multiple locations along I-44 through a design-build-delivery method. State transportation officials said the overall project carries a $471 million price tag, and that total includes $328 million in general revenue funding approved by the General Assembly and the governor. And we see a picture of traffic on I-44. The caption underneath reading that construction is beginning on major I-44 upgrades through Greene and Webster counties. Attendees will be gathering at a location overlooking I-44 near the Mulroy Road, Missouri 744 interchange. Drivers attending the ceremony can reach the site using East Parallel Lane. A Missouri Department of Transportation vehicle with flashing lights will be positioned at the entrance, and staff members will help direct attendees. Additional information about the Forward 44 Southwest I-44 Improvements Project is available on the project's website, modot.org/southwest.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, study of potential soccer stadium at National and Trafficway extended by City Council. Initial findings show that the property at the intersection's northwest corner is suitable for a soccer stadium development. What follows is a picture of the commons at Jordan Valley. While initial findings show that the city-owned property at 1109 East Trafficway Street could support a soccer stadium, the site's history as a quarry and landfill require additional study before such a development can be further pursued. More than a year and a half after approving a cost-share agreement and letter of intent with the United Soccer League, LLC, the Springfield City Council on August 10th voted to terminate the cost-share agreement and approve an amended letter of intent to December 31st, 2027, thereby extending the exclusivity period in which the city and USL will continue to negotiate on an exclusive basis. Similar to the original agreement, the amended letter of intent would automatically extend the exclusivity period for up to 2 6-month periods to December 31st, 2028, unless the agreement is terminated. Under the amendment agreement, City would manage any additional feasibility studies with previously budgeted funds, according to Amanda Olensellen, the city's Director of Workforce and Economic Vitality. Initial geotechnical investigations and site surveys indicate that the property can accommodate a venue of this scale, Olensellen told City Council members July 27th, while the extension was first considered. However, because of the property's former uses, additional environmental engineering and site planning work is needed before any final configurations, cost estimates, or development recommendations can be presented. This time will allow us to align with the United Soccer League's revised expansion strategy, which places greater emphasis on strong ownership, local support, and capitalizing long-term financial and franchise viability. The byline reads, Springfield remains high priority market for USL. Following years of discussion with United Soccer League, USL, an organization overseeing multiple professional and amateur leagues for men and women, The City Council in December 2024 approved the 50-50 cost share agreement and letter of intent with USL to study the feasibility of a soccer-specific stadium at the northwest corner of National Avenue and Trafficway, just east of the city-owned Route 66 Stadium. USL is proposing to bring both men's and women's soccer to Springfield. The men's team is intended to compete in USL League One, the second tier of USL's competition structure, while the women's team would compete in a league within the USL women's ecosystem in its sole discretion. While the original agreement indicated the possibility of USL having a team in Springfield as soon as 2026 to play at Missouri State University's Robert W. Plaster Stadium until a soccer stadium is complete, the amended letter provides no such timeline but continues to compel the city to work with MSU on a potential lease. Picture that follows is of Springfield's Director of Economic Vitality and Workforce Development, Amanda Olsensellen, talking about the possibility of bringing professional men's and women's soccer teams to the city. As proposed, the stadium would have a minimum of 5,000 seats with the ability to expand to 10,000 seats. In addition to the stadium itself, the letter contemplates the possibility of additional development in the surrounding area, including multifamily, retail and restaurants, education, medical, cultural, transit, green space, hotel, and entertainment. However, Olsensellen said USL is primarily focused on expanding its soccer leagues and that the city would be responsible for exploring the potential for surrounding development. Even so, she said that Springfield remains a high priority market for USL, in part due to its growing soccer community enthusiasm around sports in the broader region. This extension would give the city time to complete any of that remaining due diligence work, evaluate ownership and financing opportunities, and determine whether the project can deliver a sustainable professional soccer league or leagues and support that broader downtown revitalization and development efforts, Olsensellen said. Byline reads, previous $75,000 allocation to support extended feasibility phase. During that time, both the city and USL are prohibited from engaging in discussions with other parties around alternative options for a soccer stadium as required by the exclusivity provision. Under the cost-share agreement, the city agreed to provide a maximum initial contribution of $75,000 to be reimbursed from the city manager's contingency fund. However, Olsensellen said USL, which spearheaded the first phase of study, has not asked the city to reimburse any associated costs. However, the city will be solely responsible for arranging and financing up to $75,000 additional pre-development work, potentially including site surveys, financial projections, lobbyist or consultant fees, and architect and engineering fees. The 8.9 acre site identified for the potential soccer stadium has been owned by the city since 2001 and is currently home to the Commons at Jordan Valley, a green space primarily consisting of an abstract art feature of stainless steel poles. Previous plans to build a play area and Greenway Loop Trail never came to fruition, and much of the property remains fenced off. The property previously served as a limestone quarry and landfill before the city took steps to close it in 1972. A fire broke out on the property in 1973 due to the buildup of methane gas caused by decaying trees dumped in the old quarry, resulting in the death of landfill worker Robert Irvin Dixon. A flare system has since been installed to mitigate methane buildup.
And U.S. Marine Robert Gilman has been released after 4 years in a Russian prison. President Donald Trump announced Gilman's release. He said the 32-year-old is expected to land in Washington, D.C. the evening of August 11th. A former Marine held in a Russian prison since 2022 has been released and headed back to the United States. Robert Gilman, a U.S. citizen from Lowell, Massachusetts, is facing a series of health complications, according to those who advocated for his release. The 32-year-old was imprisoned for 4 years and subjected to torture that has left him in a, quote, essentially catatonic state, said U.S. Senator Ed Markey. Quote, I am proud to announce that American citizen Robert Gilman, a former United States Marine, is coming home, Trump said on Truth Social on August 11th. Quote, I just spoke to him and he had one request, a great cheeseburger when he lands. I'll take care of that. The former Marine was originally sentenced on charges of assaulting a police officer while drunk. Gilman previously said he does not remember an assault and apologized. Markey said the charges were, quote, questionable. Critics of Russian President Vladimir Putin have called Gilman's imprisonment an example of the leader imprisoning Westerners on trumped-up charges in an effort to acquire political bargaining chips, a practice sometimes called, quote, hostage diplomacy. Some experts point to WNBA star Brittany Griner, who was detained in Russia on the eve of the country's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, as perhaps the most famous example of the practice. And what follows is a picture taken from the plane of Robert Gilman and family members. He is draped by the American flag. Trump credited Putin with releasing Gilman on a, quote, humanitarian basis. USA Today has reached out to the White House for comment on Gilman's condition. The president also posted a photo apparently showing Gilman on the flight back to the United States. He appears pale and thin and is surrounded by several people holding up an American flag. The president said Gilman's mother is with him on the flight. Gilman was expected to land at Joint Base Andrews near Washington, D.C. Last night before continuing on to Texas, where he'll be receiving medical treatment. The next byline, release comes after severe medical diagnosis. Gilman's release comes several months ahead of the end of the 4.5 years in prison he was originally sentenced to serve. Quote, after my discussions with President Vladimir Putin, Russia has agreed to release him very much on a humanitarian basis, Trump said in a post on social media. We appreciate this decision and the fact that Russia asked for no one in return. No exchange took place. According to Markey, Gilman's severely deteriorating health conditions precipitated his release. The Massachusetts Democrat said Gilman was diagnosed 50 days ago with dissociative stupor, a condition where he is non-responsive and unable to interact or eat. The condition has left Gilman essentially catatonic, Markey said. We don't know the full details of his current condition or the long-term impact on his recovery. I'm grateful that Robert is now on his way back to the United States to receive the life-saving care he desperately needs, he continues. It's a tragedy that it took Robert's near-death condition for his case to receive the attention that it required for his release to be negotiated. Markey laid the blame for Gilman's condition on his jailers. Throughout his detention, Robert was subjected to physical torture, forced medication, and provocations by Russian authorities. There's no doubt that his treatment by Russian authorities is the reason Robert is in this precarious state today. Next byline, other Americans remain imprisoned. Top officials celebrated Gilman's release and that of other Americans who have come home during the second Trump administration, but they said they're working to secure the release of others unjustly detained. While we appreciate this positive step, we are still seeking the immediate return of all other unjustly detained Americans, including wrongful detainee Stephen Hubbard. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement, the president will not stop until all unjustly detained Americans are home. Hubbard is an American sentenced to a Russian penal colony on charges he served in the Ukrainian Defense Forces amid Russia's invasion of the country. The retired school teacher has said he is innocent of the charges and was not serving in Ukrainian forces. According to Global Reach, an advocacy group that supported Gilman's release, others who remained in prison are U.S. Navy veteran Chuck Zimmerman, Alexander Atanov, Olga Jesler, Andrei Kachturyan, and David Barnes. Eric Lebson, a chief strategy officer at Global Reach, said all five are suffering severe issues in prison in Russia. We don't want to have to see things get to the point that the Gilman case was before action is taken, Lebson told USA Today. These are all heading in that direction. Others to be recently returned include Mark Fogel, a history teacher from Pennsylvania who taught at a school in Moscow. Fogel was imprisoned in 2021, sentenced to 14 years on charges of possessing marijuana. He was released in February 2025.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Brian Fogel. Nonprofits step in as local U.S. newspapers face steep declines. And what follows is a map that shows Northwestern University's annual State of Local News Report for 2025, showing that 212 counties highlighted yellow in the United States with no news outlets. There are 1,525 counties in light purple with only one. The recent announcement of the Branson Tri-Lakes News shuttering, at least temporarily, caused much consternation with the readers, advertisers, and public officials from our neighbor to the south. The timing, not long before an upcoming election, left county officials scrambling after they had contracted to place sample ballots in the newspaper as required by statute. Thankfully, a group of local investors are reviving the Branson paper. Local newspapers play a unique role in so many communities that are struggling across the country as news and media continues to fragment. Northwestern University released their State of Local News report a decade ago and continued to update it. The most recent report from 2025 cited that almost 40% of all local U.S. newspapers have vanished, leaving 50 million Americans with limited or no access to a reliable source of local news since 2005. That trend continues with nearly 3 newspapers a day shutting down across the U.S. Furthermore, the report shared the impact that the void has created. In this report, we are tracking 212 U.S. counties without any local news source, up from 206 last year. In another 1,525 counties, there is only one news source remaining, typically a weekly newspaper. In addition, the report states that over the past 2 decades, print newspaper circulation across the United States has dropped by an estimated 80 million, a loss of 70% from 2005 levels. Much of that vacuum has been filled with alternative channels like influencers, podcasts, and other means that may or may not be unbiased or community focused. Like so many other voids left by private and public sector, nonprofits are now meeting the news and information needs for communities across the country. I first became acquainted with the concept well over a decade ago when I had a conversation with the CEO of the Grand Rapids, Michigan Community Foundation. Their foundation had supported a nonprofit startup of a news site through the Grand Rapids Community Media Center. And the byline reads, Daily Citizen filling a void. When our former mayor Tom Carlson first reached out about starting a similar outlet in Springfield, I certainly encouraged the concept. Thanks to Mr. Carlson's vision and generosity, the Daily Citizen was launched in February of 2022. It currently has 10 full-time journalists and a group of freelance contributors that equate to another 2 FTEs. And what follows is a picture of, in the fall of 2021, then Missouri State President Cliff Smart and Daily Citizen Chairman Thomas J. Carlson shaking hands after signing an agreement providing office space for the startup news website focused on public affairs coverage. Readership has grown steadily over the past 4 years to about 4,100 paid subscribers and roughly 33,000 that receive the daily email newsletter. Website traffic grew 40% in this past year as well. The Daily Citizen is financially supported by subscribers, community partners, and local citizen donors who believe in the mission and vision. The mission of the Springfield Daily Citizen is to inform our community and be a catalyst for good. The vision of the Springfield Daily Citizen is to reinvent local news in Metro Springfield by telling the stories of our community, bringing issues to light, encouraging discourse, and inspiring citizens to vote and take action. But mission and vision are certainly not enough to drive success. Content is key. Fortunately, the Daily Citizen was able to attract some well-known, knowledgeable, and talented journalists who already knew and loved our community. Mr. Carlson was also able to recruit the former editor of our local traditional newspaper back to Springfield to serve as the chief executive officer. Missouri State University saw the benefit and vision provided office space on their campus to further assist. The Daily Citizen is a member of the Institute for Nonprofit News, which supports a network of over 500 independent news sources that are nonprofit, nonpartisan, and dedicated to public service. Among INN's priorities are to elevate journalism as a philanthropic cause, creating sustainable revenue for members, sponsor experimentation that allows nonprofit news models to adapt and grow, and to invest in the talent and human capital that drives sustained change in an emerging field. The organization offers a wide array of research and helpful information on both the journalist and administrative sides for nonprofit news organizations. Next byline reads, community support is key for nonprofit news. I have mentioned before the wide variety and diversity of the nearly 2 million nonprofits across our country. They may have different missions and focus areas, but they do share commonalities in their governance and focus on community and people, not profits. That commitment in turn relies on the reciprocity of a community to support them. For the Daily Citizen, this year, roughly 63% of their total revenue comes from subscriptions and sponsorships advertising sales. The remainder comes from grants and donations from the community they serve. As the line goes from the Joni Mitchell song, Billy Yellow Taxi, don't it always seem to know that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? Hundreds of communities across the country know that feeling too well as their local news source shut down. If you are reading this, you are already a believer in the Daily Citizen and its mission. Thank you for that support. Our community is better because of the great work they do as a catalyst for good.
From the Springfield News Leader, Missouri Supreme Court seeks swift action in redistricting referendum case. And a couple of key points here. The Missouri Supreme Court is pushing for a quick lower court decision on a lawsuit concerning a congressional redistricting referendum. Secretary of State Denny Hoskins blocked the referendum from the ballot, arguing that redistricting plans are not subject to referendums, and the outcome will determine if Missourians can challenge redistricting plans via referendum and could impact the results of the August 4th primary. The Missouri Supreme Court wants a quick resolution in lower courts of a lawsuit that will decide if voters will see a congressional redistricting referendum on the November 3rd ballot. In a Monday, August 10th letter to Cole County Circuit Judge Daniel Green, Chief Justice William Brent Powell noted that state law requires the case to be moved to the front of the docket, heard and decided as quickly as possible. Whatever he decides, Powell wrote, the case is likely to be appealed. Quote, accordingly, the matter must be handled expeditiously to ensure sufficient time for expedited appellate review to be completed, Powell wrote. Your cooperation in ensuring a timely resolution of this matter in both the circuit and appellate courts is appreciated. The trial court must act quickly because state law doesn't allow the courts to add anything to the ballot after September 8th. And the next byline reads, ongoing fight over gerrymandering. The case over whether the referendum will be on the ballot is the last chance for the campaign to overturn the gerrymandered redistricting plan that Republicans pushed through the legislature last year under pressure from President Donald Trump. Through more than a dozen lawsuits, opponents of the plan have lost or been stymied as they question the legality of the map passed to favor Republicans in the 5th Congressional District. On August 4th, Secretary of State Denny Hoskins blocked from the ballot a referendum petition submitted by a political action committee called People Not Politicians that contained more than 300,000 signatures. At the same time, he declared that a proposed constitutional amendment submitted by Initiative Petition will not be on the ballot because it improperly includes more than one subject. Hoskins declared that the Missouri and federal constitutions do not allow a referendum on a redistricting plan. Hoskins refused to say whether either petition had enough signatures to make the ballot, saying his determination they were constitutional made the signature counts irrelevant. People Not Politicians filed a lawsuit the same day challenging Hoskins' decision. Respect Mo voters, the political action committee behind the petition that would be Amendment 6 if it makes the ballot, filed a lawsuit on Thursday, August 6th. Green, late on August 10th, set the first hearing in the referendum case for Wednesday morning, August 12th. He'll also hold the first hearing on a lawsuit challenging the decision on the initiative. There will be no decision on August 12th. The hearings will set a schedule for filing arguments and holding trials. Potential long-term effects is the next byline. There is more at stake in the ultimate outcome of the case over the referendum than whether it will be on the ballot. If the court upholds Hoskins, it means Missourians can never again use the referendum process to challenge a redistricting plan. If the court orders the referendum to be placed on the ballot, it'll trigger what could be one of the most expensive ballot measure campaigns in Missouri history. The costliest was in 2024, when more than $50 million was spent for and against sports wagering. And it would throw the results of the August 4th primary into question. Candidates were nominated in 6 districts that had their boundaries changed when the gerrymandered map was passed. The candidates with the most direct interests are in the 5th District. Republican State Representative Rick Bratton of Harrisonville won the GOP nomination to oppose Democratic U.S. Representative Emanuel Cleaver of Kansas City. If the map drawn last year is used, Bratton has the edge, based on Republican success in past elections. If the map used for the 2022 and 2024 elections is used, Cleaver will have the advantage in a district where he has rarely received less than 55% of the vote. Hoskins, at the news conference announcing his decisions, said that because the Missouri Constitution is silent on the question of whether redistricting plans are subject to a referendum, it is not allowed. He also said the federal Constitution gives power to draw districts to state legislatures and that power cannot be delegated to the people without an explicit allowance in law. In their court filings, People Not Politicians is asking that the courts order the referendum to be placed on the ballot and block Hoskins from using the new districts in November. In their filings, People Not Politicians argues that the silence in the Constitution means a referendum is legal. When Republicans were arguing that they had the power to redistrict at any time, the courts found that because the Constitution does not forbid it, lawmakers had the authority to revise the lines. Hoskins has not filed a formal response in the case. The Republican National Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, and the Missouri Republican State Committee filed to intervene in the case. They want to participate, their attorney Mark Ellinger wrote, because the referendum's quote, passage would undermine political and electoral interests, including diverting resources to a costly ballot measure campaign. In the answer to the People Not Politicians filing, Ellinger said that it is too late to change the districts back to the ones used in 2022 and 2024, and he wrote the issue is one of the courts should not even consider. The petition raises non-justiciable political questions, Ellinger wrote, that this court has no jurisdiction to address.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, former area journalist published his first novel set on September 10th, 2001. Jacob Brower will mark the release of his new book, September 10th, with an event at One More Page on Commercial Street. And what follows is a nice-looking picture of Jacob Brower. Jacob Brower, a Springfield small business owner who previously worked as a journalist for several outlets in Southwest Missouri, is publishing his first novel. September 10th will be released on September 10th, 2026, exactly 25 years after the last normal day in the United States. The book will follow fictional character Jack McCune, a 40-something finance executive working in the World Trade Center, on what he believes to be, and in many ways is correct in that assessment, just another Monday. The book begins in the morning and ends in the evening, the significance of the date left entirely with the reader, according to a news release announcing the book. According to Brower, the book isn't a September 11th book because those are easy to find. It's a book about an ordinary day and an ordinary man recounting his present and his past, with some aspects of the Jack character based off of Brower's own experiences. The bar I set was, what if the book were called February 23rd and set in Springfield? Would it still be worth reading? If not, I wasn't interested in writing it, Brower said in the release. Originally, Brower considered approaching the book from a lens of nonfiction. However, as he wrote, he realized that the story he wanted to tell couldn't be realized that way. The release date? Something of a happy accident. Brower completed a good chunk of the book before realizing his book would mark the 25th anniversary of the day it seeks to emulate. Brower was a reporter for the Joplin Globe and Missouri Southern State University's Southern student newspaper, The Chart, on September 10, 2001. In more recent years, he served as the publisher of the Cassville Democrat and the Monette Times from 2013 to 2018. These days, he's the founder and president of ABM Strategies, a consulting and marketing firm in downtown Springfield, and soon a published author. September 10th will be available through Amazon and select bookstores this September. A book launch will be held at 11 a.m. on September 10th at One More Page, 306 East Commercial Street, sponsored by the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce.
Springfield Schools law enforcement launch a student safety campaign. Springfield Public Schools and area law enforcement are reminding drivers keep an eye out for students as the first day of school approaches. With kids heading back to school on August 25th, SPS, Springfield Police Department, and the Greene County Sheriff's Office have partnered to create a safety campaign with a simple but critical message. Distractions behind the wheel can have dangerous consequences for children walking to school or getting onto or off a bus. Every school day, these buses carry our kids to and from school, said Lieutenant Steve Schwinn, SPD Traffic Unit Commander, in a release. When you see those flashing lights or the stop arm come out, it's not optional. The campaign includes a 30-second public service announcement video, as well as social media messages focused on pedestrian awareness and safe driving behavior around school buses. According to SPD's Traffic Services statistics, there were 12 stop arm violations in which drivers illegally passed a stopped school bus in 2025 2023 and 2024, and there were 7 violations in 2023. In August and September, SPD's traffic unit will be focusing on the bus stop arm violations and school zone speed enforcement. This is a shared responsibility, said Jim Farrell, SPS Chief of School Police, in the news release. Whether you're a parent, student, or a driver passing through a school zone, your choices make a difference in keeping children safe. And one other story here. Christian County has broken another cold case and arrests a man for a 1997 murder. Another decades-old cold case has led to an arrest in Christian County. According to a Christian County Sheriff's Office news release, a Bruner man has been indicted for murder nearly 30 years after a man was found dead in his garage from a shotgun wound. The CCSO announced on Monday, August 10th, that James Deckard, 47, was arrested in relation to the 1997 homicide of John W. Jack Hausch. According to the release, in November 1997, Hausch was discovered dead in his garage in Bruner. He was a 62-year-old farmer, according to News Leader Archives. Despite investigations and several follow-up efforts, the case went cold. News Leader Archives suggests law enforcement had a strong suspect in the case but did not believe evidence at the time would amount to a conviction. The Sheriff's Office noted that in 2025, it conducted a comprehensive review of the case and re-examined the evidence, which resulted in additional investigative work and the filing of charges against Deckard and a grand jury indictment. The state's request for Deckard's arrest warrant alleges that he murdered Hausch by shooting him in the face with a shotgun after becoming angry when Hausch refused to sell him a Camaro. According to the document, Deckard has prior convictions for child molestation, forgery, and has fled from law enforcement before. Deckard would have been almost 19 at the time of the crime. Deckard is being held on a charge of first-degree murder at the Christian County Jail at no bond. This is the second decades-old cold case the Christian County Sheriff's Office has broken within a week. August 3rd, a man was arrested on charges related to the 1988 disappearance of 7 months pregnant Ronna Bremer.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, father, son, and the game they love. Missouri State coaching tandem of Casey and Sparky Woods has been decades in the making. Former South Carolina head coach Sparky Woods is happy to be along for the ride as his son Casey begins his head coaching career at Missouri State. And what follows is a picture of Casey and Sparky Woods discussing coaching tactics during practice on Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 in Springfield. Southern Methodist had accepted an invitation to the Holiday Bowl, and the Mustangs' then offensive coordinator, Casey Woods, had hoped his father would make the cross-country trek to San Diego. He declined. Recently retired after nearly 5 decades at a spectrum of Division I schools, Sparky Woods, the man who helped stabilize a once scandal-ridden South Carolina football program in the early 1990s, said he'd rather watch the January 2nd game from the comfort of his and wife's home in Birmingham, Alabama. They had already planned to visit their son and grandchildren in Dallas on Christmas and didn't see the point in an additional trip. By the time their plane landed in Texas to celebrate the Yuletide season, Sparky, 72, had been reeled back into the coaching profession. This time, his 42-year-old son had done the casting. Casey had accepted a 5-year, $700,000 a year offer on December 17th to become the head football coach at Missouri State, his first head job after a career that includes stops at Mizzou, Alabama Birmingham, UAB, Arkansas State, and Auburn. Christmas would include plenty of gifts and family time, but also a father and son working frenetically to assemble a staff and roster leading up to the January transfer portal window. Becoming a football bowl subdivision head coach was a realization of a dream that dated back to an 8-year-old Casey following his father around hot, humid SEC practice fields. Naturally, he wanted to bring his mentor aboard. And what follows is a picture of Casey Woods when he was 8 years old and his father, who was then head coach of the South Carolina in 1990. He was a guy who was always on my list of assistants I wanted because of how good of a football coach he is, said Casey, who had never previously been on the same staff as Sparky. There's a loyalty and fun factor that exists because we're family, and I knew he would handle it with professionalism and be as loyal as anyone can be. I knew exactly what I'd be getting. Sparky, whose previous job was senior advisor on the then North Carolina head coach Mack Brown's staff, 2019 to 2023, wears the title of Chief of Staff Assistant Special Teams Coach at Missouri State. The rare father-son opportunity was enough for Sparky and his wife, Jean Ann, to leave her native Alabama for Springfield. In 2019, when Casey said he made his first attempt at a Division I head coaching position after applying to FCS member Murray State, Sparky had thought about the prospect of working under his son. In recent years, Casey's profile grew, as did the likelihood that he would take the next step in his career. He had interviewed for head jobs. In fact, I think he may have gotten a job or two and decided to pull out. And I had known since he was really young that this is what he aspired to be, Sparky said. He's been great to me in terms of keeping me abreast of what's going on and stuff. Casey exhibits a high-energy demeanor that matches the tempo of his no-huddle offenses. He helped MSU go a combined 38-16 over the past 4 years in its successful transition to the ACC, including a spot in the 2024 college football playoff. He and his father are analytical and intentional. Current MSU players and staff have pointed similarities in their mannerisms to the elder Woods, though the elder Woods is the more reserved and less verbose of the two. Both have known to be warm and affable, with a penchant for fostering community and player support. Conversely, like most high-level coaches, each can turn the switch and add some bite to their message. Previous reporting on Sparky, who formerly served as head coach at Appalachian State, South Carolina, and Virginia Military Institute, along with several Power 4 assistant roles, often cast him as an offensive-minded coach with an affinity for special teams. After a successful 5-year run at Appalachian State, a combined 38-19-2 record in the 1980s, Sparky took on the arduous task of taking over a South Carolina program, whose head coach, Joe Morrison, had suddenly died of a heart attack months before the 1989 season. The program was also reportedly embroiled in a steroid scandal and low graduation rates when Sparky arrived. And what follows is a picture of father and son Sparky and Casey Woods smiling at their last fall practice on Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 in Springfield. Sparky, who oversaw the Gamecocks' transition to the SEC, had a 24-28-3 record before he was fired following the 1993 season. While the wins didn't come in droves, he was widely credited for putting the program on a positive track. Casey saw the highs and lows from a child's perspective. I have never lived anywhere longer than 6 years, Casey Woods said. I've seen real strain on family. I've seen public opinion. Sometimes skyrocket high, sometimes deep and dirty low. We've won games, lost games, gotten better jobs, then got fired. Casey Woods, a high school quarterback in Starkville, Mississippi, in the early 2000s during his dad's 4 years as a Mississippi State offensive coordinator, was never deterred by the inherent instability of the profession. I was getting coaching reps at 8 years old that most don't get until their 20s, he said. It helped shape what I believe and what I don't believe, what I want to be and don't want to be. If nothing else, it gave me an understanding of what I want this to look like. Sparky, an East Tennessee native who Casey said grew up in a rural home void of an indoor restroom, played quarterback and defensive back at Carson Newman University before cutting his teeth as a first-year assistant at the University of Tennessee in 1976. 30 years later, Casey, after 5 years as a reserve wide receiver at Tennessee, would stay in Knoxville and start his career as a graduate assistant with the Volunteers. In the weeks following Casey's MSU hire, he told stories about how his father would bring players to their family home during holiday break when they had nowhere to go. Sparky is seeking similar care in Casey. He always had his own belief in how to win and run an offense, Sparky said. He's got his own opinion of how to do things, how to win. I've been really encouraged by how he has done. My father gave me an experience that was nothing like his growing up. So my drive is to improve and give my son experiences even better than I had, Casey said. For the previous 2 seasons, Sparky said he watched through an iPad with access to the team video files granted by SMU head coach Rhett Lashley each SMU practice. He and Casey would speak most days about what was seen on film. While he enjoyed retirement, the short video analysis from afar was enough to quench his football thirst. And here we have a picture that has Missouri Bears offensive special teams coach Sparky Woods blowing the whistle during spring practice on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 in Springfield. Now, Sparky, in an ever-changing college football landscape, is back in a full-time role, offering sage wisdom whenever he can. I think it's a turmoil time for players, so I think coaches who care about players are more important than they've ever been in this time, Sparky said. As turmoil as it is, I think Casey has a better understanding and grasp of it. The blocking and tackling, I feel pretty comfortable with, but when we sit and talk about NIL, transfer portal, and fifth-year stuff, I'm the worst to ask about that stuff. I've been doing this 40-something years, and sometimes I think I know less today than I did when I was a head coach. Casey says he's happy Sparky is aboard. He is impact-driven and really cares about his players, he said. Missouri State opens its 2026 season at September 5th at Texas A&M.
Well, after Missouri voters crushed two Kehoe priorities, November is another test. And this is from the Springfield News Leader. It's an article written by Rudy Keller. Couple of key points here. Missouri voters rejected two constitutional amendments that were major priorities for Governor Mike Kehoe. Amendment number 5, which would have started the process of eliminating the state income tax, was historically defeated. The governor's approval rating has narrowed, and he now faces a difficult financial situation for the state. Governor Mike Kehoe was not on the ballot Tuesday, August 4th. Two of his biggest priorities were, and voters handed them a historic defeat. Kehoe made the measure that became Amendment number 5, which sought to put Missouri on a path towards eliminating its individual income tax, the centerpiece of his agenda for the year. Only two proposed constitutional amendments have fared worse in the past 118 years. And he used the pure partisan power of the Republican supermajority to muscle Amendment 4, which would have changed how majorities are counted on constitutional amendments proposed by initiative through the legislature in a special session last year. For Kehoe, the question now is whether voters were rejecting two unpopular proposals on their merits or sending a broader message about his agenda. And what follows is a picture of the governor he's waving after completing his 2026 State of the State address, standing there at a podium followed by House Speaker John Patterson and also another gentleman in the background. Well, November could offer another test. Kehoe has put his political clout and his wife, Claudia Kehoe, behind Amendment number 3, which would make abortion illegal in Missouri in almost all instances. Claudia Kehoe is the treasurer of Her Health, Her Future, the political action committee formed to campaign in favor of Amendment 3. So far, the committee is lagging behind the main opposition committee, Stop the Ban, in fundraising. Her Health, Her Future has reported about $1.1 million in donations. Stop the Ban has reported raising $6.5 million, including $1.25 million this week from former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. The August 4th defeats also came as Kehoe's approval rating is narrowed during his first 2 years in office. A February St. Louis University YouGov poll found 47% of likely Missouri voters approved of Kehoe's job performance and 42% disapproved. A year earlier, the same poll showed 50% approved and 31% disapproved. Kehoe won office with 59% of the vote in 2024 after a bruising Republican primary that cost far more than the general election. What Tuesday's results mean, if anything, for Kehoe and other Republicans on the ballot in 2028 is uncertain. The repercussions from these two votes are going to last more than 2 years, said Bob Prudy, longtime Capitol correspondent and Missouri historian. And if I'm a Republican incumbent, not only this year, but in 2 years, I'm going to have to play a lot of defense, especially if I voted for either of these things. Republican campaign consultant John Hancock, whose firm advised Kehoe's 2024 campaign, isn't convinced. Quote, "There will be in the distant rearview mirror at the point, and being committed to a policy of reducing taxes is not a bad place to be," Hancock said. Kehoe did receive one benefit from the August 4th results. Republican voters in St. Charles County nominated Steve Ellman for another term as county executive, defeating Kehoe's closest competitor from the 2024 primary and potential 2028 rival, former state Senator Bill Eigel. Eliminating the income tax was one of Eigel's signature issues in the 2024 campaign. Kehoe was the last of the three major Republican candidates to embrace the idea. Quote, he gets credit for attempting something big and bold, Hancock said. I don't think the loss of Amendment 5 is going to have any kind of lasting impact on his political viability, and the elimination of one of his chief critics in the Republican Party is politically helpful for him. Whatever the political consequences, the failure of Amendment 5 leaves Kehoe facing an immediate policy challenge: Missouri's increasingly difficult finances. After he cast his ballot in Jefferson City on August 4th, Kehoe said he would seek ways to cut taxes if Amendment 5 were defeated. Other Republicans have said the same thing. Voters like the idea of tax relief, but they don't like this package, said Republican State Representative Alex Riley of Springfield, who is in line to be House Speaker next year. Additional reductions in Missouri's top individual income tax rate, currently 4.7%, are already written into state law, but depend on revenue reaching certain thresholds. To trigger the cuts of 0.1%, revenue must meet two conditions: receipts at least $200 million more than the highest of the previous 3 years, and more than the revenue from 5 years prior, adjusted for inflation. The official revenue forecast for the current fiscal year is not enough for a cut to occur January 1st, 2028, the next possible date. At $13.65 billion, it is enough to meet the $200 million threshold, but less than the inflation-adjusted revenue from fiscal year 2022. More immediately, projected revenue isn't enough to cover the state's current spending. Kehoe vetoed and restricted $500 million in appropriations for the current year. That left a general revenue deficit of $2.3 billion after Kehoe's votes, money that will come from accumulated surpluses. Those reserves are dwindling, meaning the budget lawmakers right next year will have to align much more closely with actual revenue, and that will be Kehoe's biggest test yet, said Sophia Shore, a Republican consultant who ran Eigel's 2024 primary campaign. Until Kehoe is willing to take the state budget by the horns and clean up some of the waste, his popularity will continue to go down, Shore said. Democrats are eager to interpret the August 4th results as evidence of a broader opening in a state where they haven't won a statewide election since 2018, and where the party's candidates running statewide in 2024 received about 40% of the vote. I can't think of a parallel in my years in Missouri politics where there's been such a broad repudiation, said Russ Carnahan, chairman of the Missouri Democratic Party. The bitter primaries in some state districts show the fragmentation of the GOP, said State Senator Stephen Weber, a Columbia Democrat. They've got a bigger coalition, and that coalition is hard for them to hold together, and they're struggling with that, Weber said. State Representative Betsy Fogel of Springfield, who's running for state senate in hopes of flipping a Republican-held district, said she expects Kehoe to turn to less controversial issues rather than quickly revisit the fights that produced Amendments 4 and 5. If I'm Governor Kehoe, and I expended a lot of political capital to twist the arms of Republicans who knew that this wasn't what was right, I would be very hesitant to put my teammates in a position to have to go on record as voting on it again so quickly, Fogel said. Voters are frustrated that Republican lawmakers worked so hard on Amendments 4 and 5 when other issues were not addressed, she said. What you saw, Fogel says, was how disconnected every single elected official who voted in support of the income tax replacement proposal is from their constituency. That went to the ballot box and voted it down in every county.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, Ozarks jet engine. How versatile speedster easily will impact Tigers on both sides of the ball. 3-year starter and an all-COC selection won't be let nagging injury derail his senior season. And what follows is a picture of Ozarks jet easily taking on Webb City in a Central Ozark Conference football game on September 19th, 2025 at Tiger Stadium in Ozark. Ozark senior Jet Easley was finally feeling healthy after taking time over the summer to nurse a potentially torn hamstring. Official practices, which started on August 10th, were just a week away when Easley felt a similar sensation in his leg that he's felt multiple times since the initial injury in April. He'd pulled his hamstring again. Easley said he's dealt with a lot of serious and frustrating issues since April, but has felt good enough to stop thinking about the injury in recent weeks. The decorated running back, receiver, and returner, who had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards in 2025, believes he can return before the season begins August 28th. Easley has even more incentive to return. Interim head coach Ray Godfrey is planning to use a senior as both a driver and a defensive back. You can't say enough, said Godfrey, of what Easley brings to the Tigers. He's going to have an opportunity to play on both sides of the ball. Last year, offensively, he was someone that people couldn't stop. Now we're going to get to use him on defense as well. So, again, he's one of those guys that you're glad to be able to hang your hat on. Easley spent time on defense in junior high in his freshman year before focusing on offense and special teams under previous head coach Jeremy Cordell, who often utilized Easley's game-breaking speed. Quick feet run in the family. His older sister, Jaden Easley, was an Ozark soccer star who played 4 of her college seasons at Mizzou. And what follows is a picture of Jet Easley and Ozark taking on Webb City in a Central Ozark Football Conference game on September 19th, 2025 at Tiger Stadium in Ozark. I feel super comfortable on defense, said Easley, who averaged 16 yards per reception on last season's 3-18. It's just kind of been a process of bringing it back a little bit and knocking rust off because I'm not used to playing both sides of the ball. In his two-way efforts, Easley is paying for more than himself. The 5'9", 175 pounds, three-sport athlete said he feels a responsibility to show up for Ozark's group of seniors who have played together for more than 5 years. I'm just super excited for our guys, he said. Our senior class has played together for so many years. I just want what's best for the team and hopefully have the most successful season Ozark's had in a while. Easley, who is full of offers from NAIA Evangel and NCAA Division II Southwest Baptist, is part of a group of 5 returning starters on offense, which includes 6'6" tight end and defensive end Hendrix Hames, who is committed to the NCAA Division I FCS Lindenwood. Godfrey says the attitude surrounding the team is positive early in the season, which has helped assimilate the interim head coach to the roster and vice versa. And what follows is a picture of Jeff Easley and Ozarks taking on Webb City in Central Ozark Conference football game on September 19th, 2025 at Tiger Stadium in Ozark. I like their attitude and I like their effort, said Godfrey, who brings 5 district titles and 16 years of head coaching to the team. They're doing a great job of what's asked of them. I saw the enthusiasm at the camp we had, and I'm just really excited about what they're doing. Easley said he's aiming for all-state distinction in his final year, but is taking a team-based approach to the season rather than worrying about personal accolades. I'm just looking forward to a successful season for our team and doing everything I can for them, he said. As much as rewards are cool, I just want to win. Easley and the Tigers will open the season at home on July 28th against Neosho. And the next byline is, watch Tigers football. And you can watch it on X at Ozarks Tiger, Coach Ray Godfrey and Senior Jet Easley talking to the Daily Citizen on Tuesday, August 11th at Ozark High School.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, a bookkeeper accused of stealing $44,000 from a Springfield rental center. Tracy Dean of Nixa was charged with 1 count of stealing $25,000 or more, a Class C felony, and 9 counts of forgery, a Class D felony, according to online court records. And we see a picture of the rental center's office building over on South Campbell. A Nixa woman has been charged for allegedly stealing more than $40,000 from her employer, including making fraudulent checks and forging signatures. Tracy Dean of Nixa was charged with 1 count of stealing $25,000 or more, a Class C felony, and 9 counts of forgery, a Class D felony, according to online court records. A criminal summons was issued to Dean August 7, 2026. Dean was employed as a bookkeeper at General Rental Center located at 5117 South Campbell Avenue in Springfield from August 2022 till her resignation in September of 2024, according to court records. The company owner said that upon Dean's resignation, an audit revealed unauthorized checks written to Dean and unauthorized alterations to Dean's payroll amounts, according to court documents. According to a probable cause statement written by an officer with the Springfield Police Department, the store owner found 43 checks payable to Dean that he alleges were fraudulent and contained forged signatures purporting to be his own. The checks were dated between December 2022 and September 2024 and totaled just over $44,000. The store owner provided copies of all alleged fraudulent checks, and subpoenas later provided records allegedly showing that all checks were drawn from General Rentals' business account and the majority cashed at Walmart, according to court records. Walmart Global Investigations allegedly showed the majority of checks were cashed by Dean. A subpoena to Chime, an online banking company, produced records showing an account registered to Dean confirmed matching deposit amounts to Walmart records, according to court documents. In July of 2025, Dean voluntarily appeared at SPD facilities for an interview in which she allegedly called the accusations, quote, baloney. When asked about the fraudulent checks, court documents allege that Dean declined to answer and said she needed an attorney. At the end of the July 2025 interview with SPD, court documents allege that Dean said she hated the store owner, quote, with a passion. Evidence in the case included 9 individual checks allegedly forged from January to June 2024, according to court documents. Dean's initial appearance in front of Judge Josephine Stockert is scheduled for September 28th. As of August 7th, online court records did not show Dean had hired an attorney to represent her in this case. Dean was found guilty of 2 prior felonies related to separate charges of possession of a controlled substance in 2014 and 2022, according to court documents. Because Dean is a prior and persistent offender, she faces a steeper range of punishment if convicted of these new charges. For the 9 counts of forgery, the range of punishment, 3 to 10 years imprisonment, or a fine not to exceed $10,000, or both, according to court documents. For the count of stealing, the range includes 5 to 15 years imprisonment.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, I kind of lived in fear. Friend speaks after suspect in cold case murder is arraigned. A Sparta man was indicted last week on a charge of first-degree murder. He is accused of shooting and killing Jack Hausch in Bruner in 1997. And there's a picture of the Christian County seal inside a courtroom at the Circuit Court. A Sparta man who was recently indicted on a charge of first-degree murder in a Christian County cold case killing is now behind bars, facing life in prison if he is convicted. James Deckard, 47, was arraigned on August 11th and pleaded not guilty. He is accused of shooting and killing John Hausch of Bruner in November of 1997. Prosecutors believe Deckard became angry when Hausch received to sell him a Camaro, according to documents used to charge Deckard. Hausch was a great pillar of the community. He'd give you the shirt off his back, said Christy Caffey Jennings, whose father lived next door to Hausch. Hausch was a 62-year-old farmer who sold vehicles from his home. It was Jennings and her ex-husband who discovered Hausch's body. For nearly 30 years, Jennings said she has experienced nightmares and prayed for justice. After Deckard's arraignment, Jennings spoke to reporters on the steps of the Christian County Justice Center. I really wish this would have happened a long time ago, she said. The byline reads, I've always known it was him. Jennings told reporters that if she could speak to Deckard, she would say, I know it was him. I've always known it was him. Deckard was in the same class as Jennings, she said. He would have been about 18 in November of 1997. Jennings described Deckard as a troubled kid. 2 days before Hausch was killed, Jennings had a conversation with Hausch about the Camaro he was stealing. Deckard wanted to buy the car, but Hausch refused to sell it to the teen because he was known for passing bad checks, Jennings said. The prosecuting attorney's request for a warrant states that Deckard allegedly fled his residence when law enforcement officers attempted to arrest him on a warrant for passing bad checks and questioned him about Hausch's killing. After discovering Hausch's body, Jennings said she kind of lived in fear of retaliation, and she felt that investigators did not take her suspicions about Deckard seriously. This is a chapter in my life I can finally feel a close to, Jennings wrote in a Facebook post on August 10th. I've had to live with what I saw that day and the way that investigator treated myself and my ex-husband too long. Deckard is a registered sex offender who was previously convicted of several felonies in Christian County, including stealing a motor vehicle, forgery, and child molestation. He is currently being held without bond. And what follows is a picture of James Deckard, his booking photo provided by the Christian County Sheriff's Office.
From the Springfield News Leader, this iconic Missouri restaurant was named the state's quirkiest. Restaurant foods offerings may be the main reason why most of us choose to visit, but it is not the only reason. With so many restaurants to choose from, things like location, reputation, and aesthetic can make all the difference in deciding whether to give a place a shot or return. Food site Tasting Table recently put out a list of the quirkiest restaurants in every state, highlighting restaurants across the country that stand out for their unusual settings, creative themes, and memorable dining experiences. In other words, the kind of places that offer more than just a meal. Well, here's what Tasting Table selected as Missouri's quirkiest restaurant. A little drum roll. Home of the Throwed Rolls. It's the next byline. Well, in what comes as a surprise to no longtime Missourians, Tasting Table crowned Lambert's Cafe as the quirkiest restaurant in the state. Founded in Sikeston in 1942, Lambert's specializes in Southern-style comfort food with dishes like country fried round steak, chicken and dumplings, barbecue pork steak. And while the main courses are indeed rave-worthy, what the restaurant is really known for, its rolls, or maybe how they're delivered. Lambert's is famous for its tradition of tossing freshly baked dinner rolls to customers across the dining room, hence its nickname, Home of the Throwed Rolls. The practice reportedly began on an extremely busy day in 1972, when then-owner Norman Lambert was walking around asking customers if they wanted any rolls. Given how busy the lunch rush was, an impatient customer waiting on his roll offhandedly remarked, "Well, just throw the darn thing." So Lambert threw him a roll, spurring other guests to join in on the fun and have their rolls thrown too. What Tasting Table had to say about Lambert's is the next byline. At Lambert's Cafe, you go not for a meal, but for an entire experience. Along with fan favorites like the country fried steak and fried zucchini, there are rave-worthy hot rolls. You'll have to be on your A game, though, as staff have been throwing them to customers since 1976. Say yes to toppings like apple butters and syrups, along with the fried okra. And now we're wondering, where are Lambert's located in Missouri? Well, we just mentioned the Sikeston location. They actually have a total of three locations, with two in Missouri, one in Alabama. The one is in Sikeston on East Malone Avenue. Also, of course, a little closer to Springfield, they are located at 1800 West State Highway J in Ozark, and also a Foley location, 2981 South McKenzie Street in Foley, Alabama. Hours do vary by location, so it is worth checking before you visit. And one other quick story here from the Springfield Business Journal. MSU president receives a positive evaluation after year number 2. The Missouri State University Board of Governors gave President Richard Biff Williams high marks for his second year in charge. The board announced August 10th that Williams received a positive evaluation on jointly established priorities, including putting the pieces of a new strategic plan in motion. Williams spent much of his first year getting to know campus and developing the framework for the plan called Igniting Opportunity. The goals include recruiting and retaining students and staff, expanding academic innovation, forging more community partnerships, improving student and alumni experience, and modernized branding of Mo State. At a retreat August 6th, 7th, the university provided updates on the athletic facilities, master plan, efforts to boost enrollment, and harnessing technology in teaching and learning. Melissa Gurley, chairman of the board, said in a statement that Williams has provided exceptional leadership and vision for the institution. Quote, he's moved the university from planning to action with a clear focus on our strategic plan, operational excellence, and student success, Gurley said. His thoughtful, strategic leadership is positioning Missouri State for continued success. The board noted the Higher Learning Commission reaffirmed the accreditation of the Springfield campus for another 10 years. The full accreditation of the MSU West Plains without probation was also affirmed. Williams is scheduled to highlight the progress of the plan during the State of the University address on August 2nd at Plaster Student Union. The recent evaluation did not alter the initial 5-year employment contract offered to Williams, which expires on June 30th, 2029. His current salary, $475,600, and since annual increases are tied to the percentage given to full-time facility, it will not go up for the 2026-27 year. Under Williams' leadership, MSU has initiated an assessment of human resources, hired a series of senior leaders, and established an ombudsman program to support faculty, staff, and students. Our first year was about listening, learning, and establishing a direction for Missouri State. This year was about turning that direction into action, Williams said in a news release. Williams added he appreciates the support of the board and community partners and is proud of the progress made by the entire campus. Quote, "These days, go Bears feels like it means so much more," he says. "There is a lot of excitement and momentum building behind Missouri State. I couldn't be more proud of the progress we're making together."
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, charging documents shed light on Sunday's fatal shooting in West Springfield. According to court documents, Darvin Tobin called his neighbor soon after the incident, said he shot someone in Springfield and he hoped they died. What follows is a picture of lights illuminated on the top of a police vehicle. Prosecutors filed formal charges against the suspect in the fatal shooting Sunday night in West Springfield that took the life of 32-year-old Paxton Barnett. Darvin Howard Toman, 36, of Springfield, has been charged with the Class A felony of second-degree murder and armed criminal action. According to the probable cause statement, Springfield police responded to the 2500 block of West Water Street just before 8 p.m. Sunday, August 9th, following 911 calls of a shooting. They found Barnett in the front yard of a residence with a gunshot wound. He was transported to Mercy Hospital where he was pronounced dead. A witness identified the statement as W1 told the police that he was at home with Barnett on Sunday night. About 10 to 15 minutes before the shooting, a man W1 didn't know arrived at home. W1 said the man was drunk and had come to visit with another resident, identified as W4. And what follows is another booking photo of Darvin Tobin provided by the Greene County Sheriff's Office. W1 told police Barnett and the man got into a physical altercation in the yard, but W1 had gone inside and didn't see the fight. About 30 seconds later, W1 heard a gunshot, went outside, and found Barnett unresponsive laying next to the other man's blue vehicle. W1 said the man was in the vehicle trying to leave, and W1 told the man not to run over Barnett. According to the statement, the man yelled at the passenger window about shooting Barnett as he left in the vehicle. Other witnesses who were at home described to police what the suspect looked like. Some of the witnesses told police they knew the man as Trey. According to their statement, W4 told the police she heard the suspect and Barnett got in a fight outside, and she went outside and saw Trey and Barnett on opposite sides of the vehicle. Barnett told W4 they were good. W4 turned around and go back inside and heard a gunshot. When she turned back around, she saw Trey holding a gun. The byline reads, "Neighbor's security camera provides evidence." A neighbor provided police surveillance video of the incident and told police she heard what she believed to be 2 gunshots. She pointed out new damage on the side of her house, which appeared to be from a bullet. According to the statement, Lawrence County 911 received calls related to the shooting soon after it happened. One of the callers told investigators that her neighbor, David Tolman III, had called up at 8 p.m. and had allegedly said he had shot a person in Springfield and hoped the person died. Police did research on Tolman and discovered he drove a dark blue 2012 Subaru Legacy that matched the vehicle seen in the surveillance video being driven by the suspect, and Tolman was forced to have an alias of Trey in the police reporting system. Tolman is being held in a Greene County jail with no bond. He does not yet have an attorney listed.
From the Springfield News Leader, fans mourn beloved bald eagle Jackie in celebrating her legacy. Jackie, the beloved California bald eagle, died this week, and her fans across the country are mourning her loss. The 14-year-old eagle died while being rehabilitated at the Ojai Raptor Center in California. She'd been rescued after an altercation with 2 subadult eagles on July 17th. The center announced her death in an update on August 10th. Quote, "It is with profound sadness that we share that patient 26-519 passed away in the early hours of this morning following more than 3 weeks of intensive medical care," the center wrote in a Facebook post. "Our team is heartbroken. It's been extraordinarily extraordinary privilege to care for her. The rescue center is based in Miramonte, California, about 170 miles from the Bald Eagle's Nest in Big Bear Valley. The center had previously said Jackie was, quote, critically ill and unstable before she died. Friends of Big Bear Valley, the organization that operates the Eagle Cam, which starred Jackie, her mate Shadow, and their eaglets, acknowledged the enormous loss on Facebook. Quote, it is with great sadness and heavy hearts to bring you the latest update from Ojai Raptor Center. The organization said, please be kind to yourself, to others, to the FOBBV team, and to those of the Ojai Raptor Center. Soar free, Jackie. And what follows is a picture of a rather tender moment between Jackie and Shadow in their nest. Fans are mourning Jackie is the next byline. Chris Meinberg, a fan of the Bald Eagle, commented on the center's post stating Jackie passed away in a, quote, safe environment instead of having to face the elements and other predators that could have made her last days so much more unbearable. He continued saying he was grateful that the Raptor Center cared for Jackie, especially in her final moments. They did their best and acknowledged how important she was to so many people. I can't thank them enough, he said. Jamie Nanusis, another Jackie fan, added that Jackie's fame helped secure millions to save her habitat for future generations of eagles. In July, Friends of Big Bear Valley announced that they'd secured $10 million to protect the 63 acres of forested open space and shoreline encompassing where Jackie and Shadow lived and raised their eaglets. Jackie gave her all to raise 2 last eaglets this year, said Danusis. May we all make such a positive and impactful difference in the lives of others as she did during the 10 years the world watched her. Fan Annie Woods Herm noted that one of Jackie's greatest contributions was establishing the community that gathered to watch her. Her purpose was great, and she served it with profound strength, said Woods Herm. She helped replenish the bald eagle population, brought thousands of people together, and gave us hope and enjoyment. The next byline, when did Jackie fall ill? Jackie was discovered to be ill following the altercation. Though she managed to defend herself, rescuers later found her on the ground near Dana Point Park. After being taken to the center, staff said her initial blood work showed she was experiencing severe anemia and inflammation affecting the kidneys. Based on the test results, veterinary staff started supportive treatment based on the information available. Veterinarians spent weeks attempting to diagnose her condition before she died. And this next picture is a tough one. It's from July 22nd of this year, and it shows Shadow, Luna, and Sandy looking out over the Big Bear, California valley as they are missing their Jackie as she was getting assessed over at the Ojai Raptor Center. And finally, the byline reads, when did Jackie become famous? Born in 2012. Jackie was the first eaglet to hatch in Big Bear Valley. Her parents, Ricky and Lucy, were the first adult bald eagles who decided to stay in the valley, USA Today previously reported. And during her life, Jackie had 10 chicks. The latest, Sandy and Luna, hatched this year and fledged the nest earlier this summer.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, City Council places 4 amendments to Springfield City Charter on the November ballot. The amendments are intended to support the City Council's priority of operational excellence. And what follows is a picture of Springfield's Bush Municipal Building at 840 North Boonville Avenue. Springfield voters have been given more to consider in the November general election. The Springfield City Council on August 10th voted 8-0, with Councilmember Craig Hosmer absent, to approve the placement of 4 amendments to the Springfield City Charter on the November 3rd ballot. First considered by council members in April, the charter amendments are intended to support the City Council's priority of operational excellence with the goal of improving clarity, efficiency, and accountability. If approved by voters, questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 would clarify how certain duties are delegated within the municipality, remove the personnel board from merit roll adoption process, authorize the City Council to establish a new purchasing framework, and replace gendered pronouns throughout the charter with gender-neutral language, respectively. Although accompanied by a markup of existing charter language via Exhibit A and Exhibit B, each amendment indicates that the proposed changes will be further detailed in an additional ordinance, with one expressly calling for future legislation. Byline reads, Charter Review Committee continues work. A charter review committee organized by City Manager David Cameron and compromise of city leadership developed the amendments during its first phase of review, which focused on finance and personal related issues. Subsequent phases may yield additional charter amendments. City Attorney Jordan Paul, who chaired the committee, said they were charged with identifying elements of the charter that impede their work on a somewhat regular basis, whether through a specific restriction or lack of clarity. And what follows is a picture of Springfield City Attorney Jordan Paul speaking in a meeting of the Springfield City Council on Monday, October 7th, 2024. We had 3 or 4 meetings where we kind of worked through a specific focus on the finance and personal provisions, and these were the group of amendments that emerged from that process. They are unanimously recommended, and we've kind of moved on to looking at other sections of the charter, Paul said. Only one individual, Kevin Mueller, spoke in opposition to the charter amendments being placed on a November ballot during the public hearing on the legislation, pointing to Missouri voters' resounding rejection of amendments 4 or 5 in the August 4th primary election. Mueller said the charter amendments deserve more scrutiny before Springfield voters are asked to consider them. The city charter is not an employee handbook. It is not an internal policy manual. It is Springfield's Constitution, he said. It establishes who has authority, who is accountable, what safeguards exist, and which decisions can ultimately belong to the people. Byline reads, Question 1. Currently, the city charter does not specify whether the city manager or department directors may delegate their charter assigned responsibilities, requiring the city to conduct a legal analysis of each duty to determine whether it can be delegated. There are literally dozens of powers, individual powers, listed in the charter, Paul said. This generally creates ambiguity because there is no consistent rule, and the analysis can change over time depending on how changing councils, changing city managers, changing city attorneys. Question 1 would expressly authorize the city manager and department directors to delegate charter-assigned duties as they see fit. And reading the ballot language, shall sections 3.1, 3.31, 3.4, 4.2, and 6.5 of the Springfield City Charter be amended to expressly authorize the city manager to delegate the authority to perform charter-assigned duties of the city manager to assistant city managers, expressly authorize the city manager to delegate the authority to appoint and remove employees to assistant city managers and department directors, and expressly authorize department directors to delegate the authority to perform charter-assigned duties of the directors, subordinate officers, or employees within the development as more fully set forth in General Ordinance Number blank. Paul emphasized that accountability would still reside with the city manager and department directors. Despite Paul's assurances, Mueller suggested that accountability could become harder to trace when duties are delegated farther and farther down the organizational chart, and questioned whether Missouri law prohibited some duties from being delegated. Byline reads, Question 2. In an effort to streamline the adoption of merit rules, the city is proposing in Question 2 to remove the Personnel Board's role in the process. Currently, the Charter provides a 3-step process for merit rules, which pertain to policies and procedures governing city employees. The process begins with a recommendation from the Director of Human Resources, which is then reviewed by the Personnel Board before being forwarded to the City Council for formal consideration. According to the city, the board only reviews merit rules that do not have a financial impact, and the board has rarely rejected or modified such rules. Regardless of the financial impact of a proposed merit rule, Question 2 would remove the board from the adoption process altogether. Instead, city manager, after consultation with the Director of Human Resources, would submit proposed merit rules directly to the City Council. Additionally, Question 2 would eliminate a requirement that application forms for city employment be approved by the Personnel Board, and instead require such forms simply be prescribed by the Director of Human Services. Read the ballot language. Shall sections 4.1, 6.2, 6.4, 6.6, 6.7, and 19.7 of the Springfield City Charter be amended to replace the current 3-step merit rule adoption process with a 2-step process that removes the Personnel Board from the process and authorize the Human Resources Director to approve application forms in lieu of the Personnel Board as more so fully set forth in General Ordinance Number blank. Asked by Council Member Monica Horton what the purpose of the Personnel Board would serve should voters approve question 2, Paul says the board primarily reviews employee disciplinary actions and would continue to do so. In addition to considering merit market systems, the charter requires the Personnel Board to advise the City Council, City Manager, and Director of Human Resources on problems concerning personnel administration, conduct investigations concerning the administration of personnel in the city, and report its findings, conclusions, and recommendations to City Council at least once a year. Hear appeals from disciplinary action, perform other personnel administration related duties consistent with the charter and required by ordinance. Question 2 would have no effect on these duties. The reason that particular recommendation came out was because no one would remember the last time Personnel Board reviewed a merit rule or application form and made a change to it, Paul said. Mueller was unconvinced by the argument that the Personnel Board has rarely rejected or modified a merit rule. A safeguard does not become unnecessarily simply because it is rarely used, Mueller said. We do not remove smoke detectors because the house is never burnt down, and we do not eliminate audits simply because fraud has not yet been discovered. Byline reads, question 3. In its current form, the charter provides for 2 different pathways for the procurement of purchasing of goods and services, according to Paul, differentiated by who handles the purchase. As procurement is centralized with the purchasing division of the city's finance department, challenges arise when the division is understaffed, overwhelmed, or at odds with a particular department. Historically, this ambiguity has occasionally escalated to the point of significant disagreement between different people, and not here anymore, and just reading historic opinions on this between different leaderships over the years, with different opinions as to how exactly this framework is supposed to operate, Paul said. An explanation of the proposed amendment states that the charter was written when the city government was much smaller and was anticipated that all purchasing would be processed through the purchasing division. Today, the city's operations are significantly larger and more complex, resulting in multiple procurement pathways depending on the type of purchase. The explanation is, if approved, question 3 would authorize the City Council to create a purchasing framework by ordinance while encouraging that competitive bidding requirements are maintained. The City Manager would also be a signatory on all purchasing contracts. Read the ballot language. Section 3.39, 5.3, 5.4, 10.4, 15.8, and 19.9 of the Springfield City Charter be amended to authorize the City Council to fully establish purchasing by ordinance, including organizational structures, thresholds, and types, especially designate the City Manager as the default signatory for purchasing and applying the existing competitive bidding requirement to additional purchasing methods as more set fully forth in General Ordinance Number blank. Mueller expressed concern with allowing the City Council to purchasing provisions by ordinance, which he emphasized could be changed by future councils without a public vote. The next byline reads, question 4. Finally, question 4 would generally replace gender-specific pronouns in the charter, which was adopted with language that exclusively refers to men with gender-neutral language. Paul has said the city has already started using gender-neutral language in recent charter amendments. This would just be making them all at once with what's remaining in the charter, he said. Read the ballot language. Shall the Springfield City Charter be amended generally to replace gendered pronouns and references with gender-neutral applicants as more fully set forth in General Ordinance Number blank?
And a couple of outdoor stories here for you. Missouri webinar to explore food plots for deer and wildlife. Landowners and hunters interested in improving wildlife habitat can learn how to establish and manage food plots during a free online webinar hosted by the Missouri Department of Conservation and the National Deer Association August 25th. The program will begin at 6 p.m. and will focus on creating effective food plots for deer and other wildlife in Missouri, according to a community announcement. Organizers said in the announcement that the session also will explore how food plots can fit into deer management plans this fall. The live Zoom event will feature a presentation by a National Deer Association outreach specialist, followed by a question and answer session with Missouri Department of Conservation and National Deer Association staff. Participants must register in advance at tinyurl.com/479BSRRV. Registrants will receive a link to access the webinar at the scheduled start time. Anyone who has not previously used Zoom on the device that they plan to use is encouraged to test the link beforehand and install the software if needed, according to the announcement. And the next byline reads, webinar concludes annual deer management series. The event is the final installment of the Missouri Department of Conservation's 2026 Missouri Deer Management Webinar Series. Recordings of previous webinars in the series are available through the department's Deer Management Assistant Program webpage. Additional information about deer management resources is also available on their website. And Bass Pro Shops Fall Hunting Classic brings savings through August 26th. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's has launched its Fall Hunting Classic, a sales and trade-in event running through August 26th that includes discounts on hunting gear, youth activities, and conservation-focused equipment donations. The event is taking place at Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's locations across the United States and Canada, according to a community announcement. Customers can trade in eligible hunting equipment and receive credits towards new purchases, while participating stores collect used gear for donation to organizations that support outdoor education programs. Eligible trade-in items include bows, crossbows, game cameras, and hunting boots. Trade-in values can reach up to $200 towards qualifying new equipment purchases. The retailer said in the announcement that the annual event is designed to help hunters prepare for upcoming seasons while providing educational opportunities for families and young outdoor enthusiasts. Family activities planned during the event. There are several free activities that are scheduled during this promotion. The first 200 customers at participating stores on August 15th will be receiving a free Hunting Classic can cooler while supplies last. The giveaway also includes a resource guide featuring online hunting materials, educational videos, and season planning information. Bass Pro Shop also plans free Johnny Morris steak strip sampling from 11 to 1 on August 22nd and August 23rd at U.S. locations. Throughout the event, hunting professionals and camping and company outfitters are expected to offer advice on equipment selection, hunting preparation, and outdoor traditions, according to the announcement. Next byline, gear discounts available through August 26th. The promotion also includes discounts on hunting equipment, archery products, trail cameras, apparel, and footwear, according to the announcement. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's said in the announcement that club members can access additional savings during the event. Information about membership is available through the company's online application process. Families can also submit hunting photos to the Johnny Morris Bass Pro Shops Kids Bragging Board, which is an online gallery featuring youth outdoor experiences. More information about the Fall Hunting Classic is available on the website www.basspro.com/b/kidsbraggingboardhunting. And we are broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store in Springfield, Missouri, 2713 North Kansas Expressway. You will find amazing deals, including a 25% discount for veterans every day. On Wednesdays, 50% off all clothing items, and seniors 55 and older, 25% discount on Tuesdays.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, known as Sean Kraft bringing Italian culinary hub to new downtown space, second business joins. Kraft signed the lease on 307 South Jefferson around February 2026, and it will be the primary location for his other business, Meals by Monica. Lorenzo Antignano will operate his business, Lorenzo's Italian Experience, from the space as well, and what follows is a picture of Chef Lorenzo Antignano, and he's the owner of Lorenzo's Italian Experience, which just moved into a downtown Springfield building shared with Chef John Kraft, owner of Nana's. And he's holding up a sign that says, Lorenzo's Italian Experience, coming soon. The building that formerly housed the Wheelhouse is now occupied by the well-known Springfield chef Sean Kraft, owner of Nona's Italian Cafe. Kraft signed a lease on 307 South Jefferson Avenue around February 2026, and it will be the primary location for his other business, Meals by Monica. Essentially, the chef needed a bigger kitchen to continue running both businesses, which were previously housed under one roof. Meals by Monica is a Springfield-based service where Kraft and his team prepare fresh, seasonal gourmet meals and deliver the meals straight to the customers' homes. The business started in 2006 and Kraft purchased it a few years ago, according to the previous Daily Citizen reporting. It's essentially a personal chef experience delivered weekly to your door. Kraft said he focuses on unprocessed food and clean recipes. Coming along for the ride is Lorenzo Antignano, owner of What's Alfredo, which is transitioning to the new name Lorenzo's Italian Experience. The company, known as an at-home private chef service, will rent space from Kraft for its headquarters, and it also plans Italian cooking classes and more. The two chefs have a strong relationship and will likely co-host events and dinners in the new space as well, Kraft said. Antignano said he was lucky to work out a way to lease some of the space from Kraft. His company is in the midst of a huge transition, including the rebrand, and the downtown space will be its first headquarters for Lorenzo's Italian Experience. And what follows is a picture of Nona's Italian Cafe who leased the building at 307 South Jefferson Avenue. And then it's right next to Meals by Monica, downtown. It's also been a huge opportunity for me and to kind of have my own little home base, Antignano said. The chef adding that renting a fully equipped kitchen has saved him a lot in costs that otherwise would have leased or purchased. Even with the savings from the lease agreement with Kraft, starting a brick and mortar has been a costly endeavor, Antignano said. I don't have an unlimited budget, he said. I'm trying to prioritize the right things to where I can get started and start welcoming people in and then eventually add on to things. Lorenzo's Italian Experience will continue offering private at-home chef services. But with the new space, Antignano said he will add Italian cooking classes. Then there will be gourmet dinners offered by reservation only. Antignano, born and raised in Italy before moving to the U.S. as a high school exchange student in 2012, aims to officially launch the experience with a few events at the end of September. The Italian Culinary Experience business also plans to dip its toes into the world of serving family to-go meals. I want to do family meals, like a whole tray of lasagna, for example, Antignano said, and people can come in and they can pick up something. Antignano said, even though his business will be completely separate from Kraft's, the two chefs will likely hold some dinners together as they have done in the past. Antignano is especially looking forward to days when the two can experiment in the kitchen together. We might do some events together, but we'll also use the kitchen to play around, Antignano said. Come in a day and make a whole pork belly and roast just for fun. So experimenting new recipes. And what follows is another picture of Sean Kraft in his chef's outfit. Kraft is also looking forward to the same thing. He says the two chefs together will have a little Italian kitchen laboratory on their hands. Kraft has owned Meals by Monica for about 3.5 years, and all that time it has operated underneath Nona's. While renting the new downtown space, Kraft is also moving the business out of the Nona's umbrella. It's a transition with Meals by Monica, Kraft said. It was all just a part of Nona's, and I've actually separated the business into two.
Humanitarian Award nominations are open now in Southwest Missouri. Residents across Southwest Missouri have till noon September 14th to nominate a community member for the Community Foundation of the Ozarks Humanitarian of the Year Award, which recognizes service that improves local communities. The Community Foundation of the Ozarks is accepting nominations for its 2026 Humanitarian of the Year Award, according to a community announcement. Nominations must be submitted online through formstack.com. The recipient will be recognized during the region's National Philanthropy Day celebration, November 17th. The Community Foundation of the Ozarks is partnering with the Missouri Ozark Region chapter of the Association of Fundraising Professionals, to honor individuals and organizations for their contributions to the area. Humanitarian nominees are expected to demonstrate, quote, the courage to take decisive action, the wisdom to face aggressive challenges, and the willingness to sacrifice to affect these causes that have a long-term impact on the betterment of the community, according to the announcement. The next byline, selection process and award details. An independent committee organized by the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce will review nominations. The committee is expected to include chamber representatives from Branson, Joplin, West Plains, as well as clergy members from Springfield. Springfield Chamber Chair-elect Marshall Kinney will be leading the committee. And the award is limited to living nominees. Posthumous nominations are not accepted. Eligibility criteria and a list of previous recipients are available at cfoozarks.org. The winner will be recognized during a National Philanthropy Day luncheon at the Doubletree Hotel November 17th and will receive a cash award. Traditionally, recipients donate the award to a charity of their choice. The upcoming presentation will mark the 37th Annual Humanitarian of the Year Award. The honor was established by the late Jewel Thompson Schweitzer, a major donor to the Community Foundation of the Ozarks. According to the announcement, Schweitzer left several estate bequests to the foundation that expanded its unrestricted grant-making endowment and created designated endowments for First and Calvary Presbyterian Church, Drury University, Cotty College, and College of the Ozarks. The Community Foundation of the Ozarks reported $632 million in assets under management as of June 30th. The organization serves donors, nonprofit partners, and 55 regional affiliates across central and southern Missouri. Its mission to improve quality of life through resource development, community grant-making, collaboration, and public leadership. More information is available at their website. And one other quick story here, Cox Health has entered ACA partnership. Cox Health has committed to an agreement designed to bring Affordable Care Act coverage to its network with a new partner. The partnership is with New York-based Oscar Health, Inc., according to a news release. Financial terms were not disclosed. Through the agreement, Cox Health will be available through healthcare.gov during the open enrollment period that runs from November through January 15, 2027. Coverage is available in Berry, Barton, Christian, Greene, Lawrence, Stone, Taney, and Webster counties. It's a great option for families across our region who want ACA marketplace coverage connected to the Cox Health doctors and care teams they already know, said Max Boutell, president and CEO of Cox Health in the release. Partnerships like this reflect what Cox Health is all about, finding new ways to connect our communities to high-quality, affordable care close to home. Cox Health plans, Cox Health's insurance company, will no longer offer ACA coverage starting in 2027. It will continue to sell off-exchange individual insurance products in Greene, Christian, Webster, Stone, Taney, Berry, and Lawrence counties. For the new ACA coverage, employer groups can access healthcare plans according to the release.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, group alarmed by overcrowding at Greene County Jail as ICE holds increase. On Monday, the number of people in the Greene County Jail exceeded what the GSCO leaders said the jail's capacity was when it opened. And what follows is a picture of the inside of the new Greene County Jail, which opened in June of 2022. Springfield area activists have tracked a new record of federal inmates being held for immigration violations in the Greene County Jail. On August 10th, the overall number of people in the jail was greater than the number of available beds, according to a press release from the Southern Missouri Immigration Alliance, SMIA. On many days, ICE detainees represent about a third of the jail's population. Deputy Jonah Beatles, spokesperson for the Greene County Sheriff's Office, GCSO, confirmed that there are about 1,254 people in the jail, including 413 ICE detainees as of Monday. The county built the new jail in 2022 with a capacity of up to 1,242 inmates. GCSO has an intergovernmental agreement with the U.S. Marshals Service and ICE, allowing the jail to house federal inmates, including ICE detainees. The contract estimates that the jail has 375 beds available for federal inmates, according to previous reporting by the Daily Citizen. This is not the first time they have broken the number of estimated beds in the contract, but it is the first time that we have seen that the total jail population exceeds capacity at the facility, SMIA stated in the press release titled Greene County Jail Overcrowding. Missouri law requires a county sheriff to reserve into his custody any prisoner or prisoners who may be from time to time committed to his charge under authority of the United States, and to safely keep every prisoner or prisoners according to the warrant or receipt of such commitment until he or they shall be discharged by due course of law in the United States. And the byline reads, what happens to inmates in crowded cells? In late July, the Daily Citizen asked Beatles whether certain pods in the jail ever contained more inmates than beds, referencing local activists who compiled from the jail roster that appeared to show crowding in some cells housing ICE detainees. Beatles provided the following statement via email on July 23rd. At times, a housing unit may temporarily hold more inmates than the number of permanent beds available. In these situations, each affected inmate is provided with a cot-style bed and mattress. While our overall facility is equipped to house the number of inmates you're aware of, not all housing units are considered general population. We operate several special housing units, and classification factors such as medical needs, security concerns, or gang affiliations can limit our ability to distribute inmates evenly throughout the facility. It's also important to note that a housing unit with a higher than normal count is not a permanent condition. These numbers change frequently as our inmate population fluctuates. Additionally, the public inmate roster you referenced may occasionally have a slight delay in updating, which can lead to temporary discrepancies. The Greene County Jail's online roster previously displayed what each cell inmate was housed in. GCSO apparently stopped reporting this information on a public jail tracker following the Daily Citizen's inquiry in late July. The byline reads, activists severely concerned with jail conditions. We are severely concerned with the conditions inside a Greene County jail, SMIA President Dominic Moore stated in a press release. According to SMIA, 392 of the ICE detainees in the jail on August 10th were men. Because of this, we assume that overcrowding is even worse on the men's side of the jail than the numbers may reflect, the group stated. SMIA also said the organization is also concerned ICE detainees are not always afforded rights due to local process. Local activists have tried to pressure GCSO into allowing stakeholder visits for community members to check on jail conditions and visit ICE detainees.
Springfield Federal Prison is hiring an event. We'll be seeking officers and nurses. The United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield will be holding a 2-day hiring event August 17th and 18th for people interested in careers in federal corrections and healthcare. The event will run from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the facility, 1900 West Sunshine Street, Springfield, according to a community announcement. Unscheduled walk-ins are welcome. The Medical Center is recruiting correctional officers and a range of medical professionals. Positions listed in the announcement include registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physicians, and pharmacists. Organizers said in the announcement that the event is open to people seeking federal employment and information about career opportunities within the Bureau of Prisons. Applicants can learn about available positions in the hiring process during the event. Next byline, positions available. The United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners said in the announcement that it is actively hiring correctional officers, registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physicians, and pharmacists. And according to the announcement, the facility hopes to attract applicants interested in careers as federal correctional professionals and healthcare workers. Pay, benefits, and application information. Well, the announcement states that federal employees may be eligible for benefits that include job security, a 401k with 5% matching, and law enforcement retirement after 20 to 25 years, depending on position and eligibility. People interested in applying for correctional officer positions and other vacancies can search openings at usajobs.gov. Additional information about Bureau of Prisons careers are located at bop.gov. For hiring information or for more information about specific jobs, applicants can contact the National Recruitment Office at 1-866-307-1045. And in another article from the Springfield News Leader, are people leaving Missouri? See where residents go when they move. Nearly as many people moved to Missouri in 2025 as those who've left, according to a new report. Moving company U-Haul released its annual mid-year migration trends report, which used one-way rental due to determine where people were coming and going from July 2025 through June of 2026. This year's report also divided the results by age generations, such as baby boomers who were born between 1946 and 64, Gen X born 65 to 1980, millennials born 1981 to 96, and Gen Z born 1997 through 2012. So here's what to know about moving trends in Missouri. Are people moving to Missouri is the next byline. Show Me State, not a popular destination for people to move to over the last year, according to U-Haul, but it was not the worst. Missouri ranked 29th among states in growth, with a 49.9% immigration rate and a 50.1% outmigration rate, meaning slightly more people left the state than those who moved in. So the next byline asks, of course, where are Missourians moving to? And that report found that Oklahoma was most often the common destination for residents among the three age groups. And where are people moving to Missouri from is the next byline. Although the report does not identify the top places people are moving from to Missouri, it does show where new residents of Kansas City and St. Louis are relocating from. And quite often a common state was Colorado, Texas, and Florida amongst those age groups. And finally, the byline reads, where are Americans moving to? Well, the South has remained the nation's top destinations for Americans seeking to relocate, especially for baby boomers and Gen Xers. Often mentioned is South Carolina, Florida. U-Haul methodology. The rankings are based on the net gain or loss of one-way U-Haul rentals in each state over 52 weeks. Because the report tracks only U-Haul customers, it reflects migration trends among the company's customers rather than every move made nationwide.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, poking around. Father says he was wrong to hire son, a sex offender at Academy of Hair Design. Parents recently fired him. When they hired their son 3 years ago, they did not inform staff and students that he was a sex offender, that he was on the sex offender registry for a 2018 sexual assault on a woman. She was 20 and he was 21. The son has not been accused of any wrongdoing as an employee. And what follows is a picture of the Academy Hair Design and Barber School. David and Christy Gonzalez started the Academy of Hair Design 30 years ago. It was 3 years ago that they made their worst hiring decision. They hired their son, David Tyler Gonzalez. His job was to recruit students who are mostly young women. The business is at 1834 South Glenstone Avenue in the Plaza Shopping Center. What they didn't tell staff or academy students is that their son is on the Missouri Sex Offender Registry. In 2020, he was found guilty of second-degree rape, a Class D felony punishable by up to 7 years in prison. Instead, he was put on probation. We're parents, the father tells me. We wanted to give our son a job, but it doesn't absolve us from making a bad decision. It was a bad decision, and so 2 weeks ago when it all came up, we held meetings with our students and our staff, and we listened to them. We paid attention to what was happening online, and they were right. It was a bad decision. So we took action so that they feel safe. They fired their son. We take total responsibility for what we did, he said. We have reformed our hiring procedures, so we're changing that. We're tightening our computer and security safety. The owners on July 29th posted on Facebook that they had returned from vacation and immediately met with students and staff over their concerns about their son's employment at the Academy of Hair Design. A year ago, there had been complaints that they had hired a sex offender, their son. That's when the parents changed his job so that he worked remotely. And the next byline reads, some complained his son, working remotely, had access to personal information. Many criticized the owner's July post by saying they took too long in firing their son. They even point out that even in his off-life job, he had access to personal information on applications. Many of those applications are from young women. The father tells me his son did nothing inappropriate while an employee. Public records show no criminal charges other than a June 23 citation for failing to display annual registration tags. A spokesperson for the Springfield Police Department said the agency is not investigating any reports related to David Taylor Gonzalez's conduct while employed at the business. In the voluminous comments on the owner's Facebook post, more than 2,300 as of Monday afternoon, there is no allegation that the son did anything inappropriate as an employee. The Springfield Daily Citizen reached out to 10 people who were critical of the parents' July 29th letter on Facebook. 3 responded. 1 requested anonymity, which I refused to grant, pointing out that she had already commented by name on Facebook. 2 others declined comment, and 7 did not respond. Next byline reads, "The honest answer is that we are his parents, and we believe we could give our son a job." In that July 29th letter, the parents state, "We removed him from on-site recruiting and removed him to a remote office, and we addressed it openly with our staff and students at the time. At the time, we believed those steps were appropriately addressed the situation. This week, our students told us they did not, and they were right. I asked the father if he and his wife were informed students and employees of their son's criminal history when he was first hired. We did not," he says. The July 29th letter further states, "We also owe everyone an answer to a fair question. Why we hired him in the first place. The honest answer is that we are his parents, and we believe we could give our son a job while keeping the school the safe place our students deserve. Our students never signed up to carry that decision, and it was not fair to ask them. We were wrong. Hiring him was our mistake, and we are sorry." Byline reads, "Father says of his son's crime, that's his journey to walk. I reached out to the son, who is now 29, married and a father. I left a business card on his door. He did not respond. The father says that's his journey to walk. He's rebuilding his life, and he is married and does have children. He's a really good dad. He's trying to be a contributing member of society and do good. I know that's hard for many people, and we get it. He's trying to make a living to support his family, which is not an easy thing to do, given his past. The father estimates that the Academy of Hair Design has trained 5,000 students over its 30 years in business since he started the company with his wife. They're all over Springfield, and we have a history as a company of doing things the right way," he said. "In this case, we didn't, but we're committed to doing the next right thing." The next byline reads, "Off of online court records, but still on sex offender registry. Back in 2020, Greene County Circuit Judge Calvin Holden found Gonzalez guilty of second-degree rape, sodomy, and sexual abuse following a bench trial. Holden sentenced Gonzalez to 5 years of probation and a suspended imposition of sentence. Gonzalez successfully completed his probation, so there is no record of a conviction which has not been imposed, and no record on the CaseNet, the online database of Missouri courts, that he was ever charged. But David Taylor Gonzalez remains on the sex offender registry. The assault occurred on January 8, 2018. Gonzalez was 21 and the victim was 20. According to a story in the Springfield News Leader, the victim let Gonzalez stay the night at her home in January 2018 because he was intoxicated. Then he forced himself on her. The story says, months later, the woman called Gonzalez to record a conversation that law enforcement refers to as a cold call. During the conversations, Gonzalez apologized and said, "I raped you," according to court documents. Gonzalez was represented by defense attorneys Joe Pisanice and Dee Wampler, who died in 2021 at age 21. This is Poking Around column number 367.
And from the Springfield News Leader, this Missouri school has been named the best community college in the nation. Community colleges can offer students a quality education and access to career opportunities post-graduation at a fraction of the cost of many four-year institutions. For instance, during the 2025-26 school year, tuition for a full-time undergraduate program at a public four-year university was nearly 3 times higher on average than tuition at a public two-year in-district community college, according to the College Board. For those considering the community college route, you'll find one of the best right here in Missouri. Wallet Hub, the personal finance company, released a study examining the best and worst community colleges in the country for 2026. And here is what to know. And what follows is a map of the best and worst community colleges. State Technical College of Missouri came in number 1, and we see a number 1 by the name of the college, and Missouri highlighted there in blue, followed by Manhattan Area Technical College in Kansas. Wallet Hub ranked State Technical College of Missouri number 1 in its community colleges ranking. In its analysis, Wallet Hub compared more than 610 community colleges across 18 key indicators, including cost of in-state tuition and graduation rate. Those metrics were then grouped into 3 categories: cost and financing, education outcomes, and career outcomes to determine each state's overall score. State Tech ranked among the top 5 nationally for both education outcomes and career outcomes, which isn't too surprising given the school bills itself as, quote, the employer's choice. Its score in cost and financing, meanwhile, was more middle of the road. State Tech earned a total score of 73.99 out of 100. As we mentioned, they did a grouping in 3 categories, and State Tech ramping among the top 5. Well, what did Wallet Hub have to say about State Tech is the next byline. The State Technical College of Missouri, located in Osage County, Missouri, is the best community college in part because 90% of students stay with the school from the first year to the second year, the best retention rate in the country, and 79% of students graduate, the best graduation rate in the country. In addition, the school students receive the 3rd largest amount of grant or scholarship aid at an average of just over $9,000 per student. This helps make it extremely unlikely that students will default on any loans they do have to take out. Lastly, the State Technical College of Missouri also offers credit for life experiences and provides employment services to students, which can help them graduate more quickly and obtain jobs sooner. Next byline, did any other Missouri community colleges make the list? Several other Missouri community colleges also made the list, but none came anywhere near State Tech's ranking. East Central College came in the next at number 267, North Central Missouri College 351. Here in Southwest Missouri, Missouri State University, or in Southern Missouri, Missouri State University West Plains came in at number 369, and Crater College in Neosho came in at number 954. Wallet Hub's top 10 community colleges, as we mentioned, State Technical College of Missouri number 1, followed by Manhattan Area Technical College in Manhattan, Kansas, Mesa Lands Community College, Tucumcari, New Mexico, Mitchell Technical College, Mitchell, South Dakota, and rounding out the top 5, Pratt Community College in Pratt, Kansas.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, there's still one more job to finish. Nixa quarterback Adam McKnight aims for ultimate prize in final high school season. After back-to-back trips to the Class 6 state title game, Missouri State commit looks to end decorated career with ultimate hardware. And what follows is a picture of Adam McKnight passing during a Class 6 state football game semifinal against Pattonville on Saturday, November 2025 in Maryland Heights, Missouri. The clump of rubber cleats sounded out on a concrete steps leading to Nixa's Eagles Stadium turf from the Apex Activity Center on Monday morning. Melodious chirps from whistles and crisp thumps of inflated cowhide followed soon after. The 2026 high school football season was officially underway, and for All-State quarterback and Missouri State commit Adam McKnight, it meant the start of one more chance at the state championship. McKnight has had a prolific career since earning the starting role his sophomore year. Efforts that have helped Nixa reach the past 2 Class 6 state championship games. The 200-pound dual-threat senior has a 26-2 record as a starter, amassing 3,552 yards on 189 completions, 67.5% completion rate. 45 touchdowns through the air and adding 1,314 yards and 19 touchdowns on the ground. He's phenomenal, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy that comes in, and since he started playing in 3rd grade, has lost 2 football games in his whole life, Nixa head coach John Perry said. He's come in and just been what his program needs, from a stampede growing into the best version of yourself. I have always said there are 2 things that a coach must have to be successful. Number 1 is a great coach's wife. Without that, you're going to lose. And number 2 is a great quarterback. You've got to have both, and thank God I have both. McKnight says it's a dream come true to have such all-state careers across 3 spots in Nixa, though he says there's something different about the Friday night lights that makes football mean a little more to him than basketball and baseball, but he's still looking for one more piece of hardware top of his long list of accolades. I think he'd be proud, McKnight said, of what his younger self would say if he knew what his high school career turned out to be. At the end of the day, there's still one more job to finish, winning that state championship. He'd want to get it done in his last year. After failing to suit in 2024 and least 725 to 20 state championship rounds in 247 Sports on one Missouri QB report, 2027 wants to change the script on his last 2 seasons by getting over the hump and taking home the state title.
Wonders of Wildlife have welcomed a new baby penguin, and you can go online and cast your vote for the name. Names in the running include Mumble, Icicle, Blizzard, Pebble, Waddle, and Bleecker. And we'd like to thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service today. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel beginning at 10 a.m. for more news from the Springfield News Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. And we're live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves, 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on how you can receive a pre-programmed radio. Have a great day.